back with you. As I was saying, we are taking a look at our social media and religion, where social media and religion goes wrong, QAnon. And the first thing we're going to take a look at is what is QAnon and how the conspiracy theory gained traction in the 2020 campaign. This is from PBS NewsHour. And if you'll give me a moment, I'll go ahead and set that up for you.
Months until Election Day, much of the attention has been on the presidential race. But Amna Nawaz looks at how a conspiracy theory could make its way into the halls of Congress after the election.
America's the greatest country in the world.
On Tuesday, Marjorie Taylor Greene won the Republican runoff in Georgia's 14th congressional district.
I'm a conservative Republican.
It's an overwhelmingly GOP district, so she's favored to win in November.
We have an Islamic invasion into our government offices.
But after Politico uncovered Greene's previous Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, and racist remarks about black people, GOP leaders distanced themselves, condemning her words as appalling, disgusting, and bigoted. But Republican leaders remain largely silent about Greene's support for a far-right conspiracy theory known as QAnon, support she professed in a 2017 video she deleted before her campaign launch.
Q is a patriot. He is someone that is very much loves his country, and he's on the same page as us, and he is very pro-Trump, okay?
QAnon first.
I'm going to pause the video there because you heard Marjorie Taylor Greene and her theory on QAnon. And I want you guys to, or at least know something here. I want you to know something here. How the critical race theory went from Harvard Law School to Fox News. Now, why is this important stuff? Well, this was in July 6, 2021, after Marjorie Taylor Greene was elected to the House of Representatives in Georgia. And if you remember, because of her statements against the Speaker of the House, they chose not to seat her on any committees within the House. So this is Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia at a news conference about the banning of federal funding for the teaching of critical race theory. Now, you see her there. You see the sign, Stop Critical Race Theory. And you see her Klan backing in the back there. Okay. I'm not going to get into this story, guys, but I had to stop it there because you have to consider the source on certain things. And with critical race theory in education, I want you to consider the source. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, QAnon believer and supporter of Trump. All right, now you can go and find this article yourself on NPR, how critical race theory went from Harvard Law to Fox News. And you can take a listen to the article, and you'll be surprised what you find out when you listen to the article. You really will. But if you really want to know what critical race theory is, you have to Google critical race theory, Harvard Law School. Okay? Critical race theory is not being taught in the education system. Okay? It's a talking point that this whacked out female created to alarm her white constituency of the harm critical race theory would have on their children. Like teaching slavery instead of enslavement in school doesn't have a harm on our children. Okay? So you can see this is just the weak minority in this country trying to rally the troops behind critical race theory. Keep in mind, there's not a school district in the country that teaches critical race theory. Google it, y'all. And everything else you hear in the public discord, in the public conversation about critical race theory, keep in mind it's wrong. Everything they're saying about it is wrong. Okay? Google the stuff and learn it for yourself. All right? And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get us back to the video, but I had to interrupt that video to show you the nonsense that comes from the Christian right, the Trumpers, and people like this whacked out female, Marjorie Taylor Greene. So just wanted to share that with you guys. So let me get you back to the original the original video. Just give me a moment and I'll get you right back there and we'll get this thing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and continue the video.
First emerged in the months after President Trump took office, starting on fringe internet message boards before spreading to social media. Adherents allege, among other things, that the president is the target of so-called deep state actors, high-ranking officials plotting against him. The conspiracy quickly took off, and the president's supporters latched on to the mysterious Q. Signs and T-shirts appeared at Trump's campaign rallies. Last year, the FBI labeled the movement a potential domestic terror threat.
I stand with President Trump. I stand with Q and the team. Thank you, Anons, and thank you, Patriots.
But now, QAnon has firmly taken root in the 2020 campaign trail.
Honestly, everything that I've heard of Q, I hope that this is real.
Some congressional candidates, like Lauren Boebert in Colorado.
I forgot about this whacked out chick. This is the chick that, you see the gun on her hip? She tried to wear that into the floor of the House of Representatives. Literally. She tried to wear that into Congress. I'm telling you, these people are whacked out.
Promoted the conspiracy theory to friendly media outlets before later calling QAnon fake news. According to Media Matters, a left-leaning watchdog group, 20 candidates, all Republicans except one independent, with varying levels.
Guys, you need to pay attention. Now keep in mind, this was before the November 2020 election, so a lot of these people may or may not have won. But one of the interesting names on this list is Angela Stanton King of Georgia. All right. I mean, it's telling you where these people's mindset is coming from, where they are. And if you're into QAnon and the nonsense, I mean, there are some true components to QAnon. But we're not going to have that conversation right here. What I want to show you is all the ridiculous stuff that people are falling for. And time after time, everything Q has predicted did not happen. All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up just a little bit more.
Levels of support for QAnon conspiracies have advanced to November's general election. And now, Marjorie Taylor Greene's name will be on the ballot as well. To look more closely at the rise and spread of the QAnon conspiracy on the campaign trail, I'm joined by Travis View, co-host of the QAnon Anonymous podcast. Travis, welcome to the NewsHour. You have been following the QAnon conspiracy theory and followers for a very long time. Let's start with the basics, though, for those who haven't been. Just explain to us where and how did the QAnon conspiracy begin?
The QAnon conspiracy theory originated on 4chan in October of 2017, though it has its origins in Pizzagate. The basic premise is that a group of high-level military intelligence officials, close to President Trump, QAnon followers believe, are sending out secret coded messages on these image boards about this great grand battle of good versus evil, in which Trump and what they call the Q team are working to destroy a global cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles, which the QAnon community believes is controlling everything. And that includes politicians, entertainment, and the media.
And what is the end game? If you're someone who believes in this conspiracy theory, what do you believe will happen as a result of all this?
The QAnon community is awaiting two big events. One of them is called the Storm. And this is supposed to be a great mass arrest event in which over 100,000 people from the highest levels of power and entertainment are arrested and face a great day of reckoning. The other event that they're waiting for is called the Great Awakening. And this is basically an event in which everyone realizes that QAnon is right the whole time. And that would allow us to enter into a great, grand new utopian age.
Also ridiculous.
So Travis, what you've just laid out seems so obviously irrational that a lot of reasonable people might just dismiss it, and yet it has picked up real speed in recent years, right? I mean, it was reported just recently that Facebook found thousands of groups and pages with millions of followers and members supporting QAnon. So what has helped to fuel this idea so well?
You know, it's a really appealing story. You happen to feel really disenfranchised and you want to believe that the world is about to change in a really important, revolutionary way.
Isolated.
And it's also appealing because it allows the QAnon followers to believe that they can take part in this great, grand, revolutionary change. They think that they're basically conducting an information war, so that by going on social media and posting QAnon memes and then spreading these QAnon conspiracy theories, they can help usher in this great awakening. And so it sounds ludicrous, and it is, but this story has a lot of appeal to people who might otherwise feel like they have no voice in the political system.
Travis, the fact that President Trump has been retweeting some of these conspiracy theories, that congressional candidates are now saying that they support these ideas and are then winning, likely ending up in Congress, what does all of that say to you about the potency of this particular conspiracy theory?
Well, there is some historical precedent for a conspiratorial movement gaining a significant share of power in Congress. All the way back in 1833, there was a party called the Anti-Masonic Party, which was dedicated to the proposition that the Freemasons were controlling the world. And they gained 10% of the House of Representatives. You know, there's always been an undercurrent of conspiracy thinking and paranoia in American politics, and occasionally it can rise up and actually get some actual significant political power. So this is just something we're seeing again.
You mentioned the Pizzagate conspiracy theory back in 2016. We should mention that has not really gone away. It tamped down a little bit, but it's resurfaced again recently. What happens with the QAnon conspiracy theory? Do you see a point at which this goes away?
No, absolutely not. You know, this is something that has started very small a couple years ago, and it has only accelerated and gained in popularity and gained in speed. So if you go by the trajectory, I mean, this is something that will almost certainly be with us for at least a generation and probably longer.
So sad. So sad. Man. That's So are you beginning to see the level of misinformation and how it's getting around? And before I forget, let me show you how these folks help spread the whole QAnon thing through a particular app that they used, and they found out that this app was actually used in real time during the Capitol insurrection. And hopefully you're seeing Parler. Now, this is a social media page, but you can also, as I said, there's a way that you connect this thing, and in real time you can communicate in real time to each other. And it was found out during the Capitol insurrection, as the people were starting to invade the Capitol itself and breached the security of the Capitol. They were communicating with each other, and there's a clip that they have of a military team snaking its way up the Capitol steps, and you can hear, and I believe this clip has or somewhere along the way they captured the communication through Parler. So they were communicating at the Capitol insurrection in real time using this particular app. And this app was used as a way, as you can see, it support a lot of Trump. And of course, it was supporting the QAnon theories at that time. So this is how they were getting this stuff out. Now, imagine yourself stuck in this app 3, 4, 8 hours a day, getting your information from this app and this app only. Okay. What idea? A poll finds that white Americans are far less likely to be highly enthusiastic about the ideal than black Americans. What ideal? This I got to see. Americans are divided by race on the importance of President Joe Biden's promise to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. A poll finds that white Americans are far... See, this is the stuff that's posted there. Okay. And I would say it would depend on who you're asking, because if you ask me, if you're just talking about getting another black face in a high place, I got bad news for you. I have real bad news for you. Why is this doing this? I don't approve. That's not where I'm coming from. Now, that's Parler. And now, I want you to pay attention again to a couple of things. First of all, pay attention to the date, January 23rd, 2022. Christian nationalism is still striving as a force for returning Trump to power. Now, we're going to play just a little bit of this so you can get an idea of where these people are coming from. And see this crap for yourself. Listen.
Accused a lot of worshiping him or being part of his religion as if he's some sort of cult, and no, Donald Trump passes away and part of his
repertory.
And permanently in this country.
When I point out that President Biden is a lifelong Catholic who attends whatever the role is, their best hope to accomplish that. After the service, I sit down with Jim Willis, a 72-year-old retired Army colonel and software salesman who wears on his lapel an American flag inside of a Christian cross.
This is a spiritual battle. It's good versus evil.
Willis says he and his wife fled California for Tennessee because of heavy-handed COVID restrictions, and the Holy Spirit led them to the Patriot Church, which is not afraid to jump into the fight.
And unfortunately, evil's taken charge. And we know what their agenda is. Their agenda is to close down churches, to get rid of religion permanently in this country.
When I point out that President Biden is a lifelong Catholic who attends weekly Mass, he responds,
No, he isn't. No, he isn't.
In this partisan fissure that we're living in, imperviousness to facts is a sign of the times. I head outside to talk to Murray Clementson, a law school student and father of 3 kids, all homeschooled. He was among the 80% of white evangelicals who voted for Trump in 2020.
Is this a Donald Trump church?
I think it is a Donald Trump church. Donald Trump represented what we stand for as a nation. You go to flyover country and people have good moral values. They love the Lord and they want the best for the country. And that's what Donald Trump tapped into. That's what he represented.
The next morning, I returned to Lenora City, to the barn-like building with the American flag painted on the roof that's home to the Patriot Church. It came into being while Trump was president, and it's done well. There are currently 4 campuses in Tennessee, Virginia, and Washington State, with about 350 members. 2 more locations are on the way. Reverend Peters greets me with a warm handshake. He's a rising star on the Christian right and one of the few MAGA church leaders who welcomes journalists. Peters believes so fervently that his candidate won, he went to the Stop the Steal rally in Washington, D.C. and addressed protesters the day before the Capitol riot. I told him that one of his parishioners said his church is a Donald Trump church.
We love Donald Trump. We love him. We will be accused a lot of worshiping him or being part of his religion as if he's some sort of cult. And no, Donald Trump passes away tomorrow, God forbid. Does that stop us? Does that slow us down? Not one bit. We'll be looking for the next guy to lead the way.
That's all I can handle of that. But that gives you an idea of the mindset of these people. That, again, you can find NPR. The date of that was January 23rd, 2022. Okay. You can go in and listen to the whole piece if you like, and I suggest you do. We got another piece here that I'm going to show you, and hopefully this will give you the full. I'm talking about the full involved in. Take a listen to this.
Anybody that believes what the left believes is absolutely on the side of evil.
America may fall one day, but it will not fall on Joe Biden.
Trump will be back, whatever that looks like.
QAnon runs on the tracks that faith has laid.
I watched the clips myself. It's first-hand information.
It scares the shit out of me. So QAnon is making you guys look like crackpots.
I don't think that's an unfair estimation.
Could it be that you're wrong?
No, absolutely not.
The mysterious figure behind QAnon, the sprawling conspiracy theory that holds that the world is controlled by satanic pedophiles, hasn't been heard from in almost a year. And Trump, who fanned the flames of Q, hasn't been in office in 10 months. Yet the wild theories that have helped fuel the movement live on, undaunted by logic, truth, or reality.
The world goes under deep state Illuminati possession.
What next? Shut your churches down?
The pedophiles, the Satanists.
Take your kids out of your home?
With their wicked plots.
Rape your wife?
You think we are on the losing side? Well, you better look at history.
Put you in a concentration camp?
Since its emergence in 2017, QAnon has used myriad channels to spread its wild theories, most of them online. Now, the movement has found other ways to radicalize new believers, notably evangelical churches. A recent study found that as many as 1 in 4 white evangelicals believe in core tenets of QAnon.
That's a quarter, yo. Sorry about that. Snuck in there on me. Get out of here.
Do it.
We're on the outskirts of Nashville, Tennessee, at the Global Vision Bible Church. This is a church run by a man named Pastor Greg Locke. The parking lot is filled to capacity. The tent is crowded. Now, Pastor Locke exists square in the middle of the Venn diagram between right-wing politics and evangelical Christianity. He's really leaning into the notion of a stolen election, evil Democrats, pedophiles, elites, and his church is booming.
A lot of the people that started watching us started making their journey here, and so we grew numerically from about 350 to about 1,200 within 15 months.
Locke has amassed millions of followers on social media, 2.2 million on Facebook alone, while railing against things like COVID masks, the fraudulent election, and pedophiles, which he claims are everywhere, particularly on the left and in the halls of power.
We're gonna buck wild government.
Yes, we do. Demonic.
While he says that he's not a follower of Q, this is all classic QAnon stuff.
I've told you the whole time this election was fraudulent. We got so much proof. The only people that can deny it are crack-smoking, demon-possessed leftists.
He said the only people who wouldn't believe it were crack-smoking, demon-possessed leftists. Man. I'm gonna I just gotta do this, y'all. Let's hear from Pastor Gino Jennings.
Told me.
Amen.
And Biden is going to be at the inauguration.
That's right.
Getting inaugurated.
That's right.
Ask these evangelical frauds. Are you going to repent?
Amen.
Did that prophecy really came from God, or was you speaking about your fool feelings?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to put you on the fire like chestnuts on the open fire.
That's right.
All right.
Let the wicked forsake his way.
Every false prophet and every false prophetess that said Trump was going to win, and if you don't repent, you're on your way to hell.
My brother. Put him on the spit and roast him. Like chestnuts, he said. Had them hollering and screaming as they were being roasted over that fire. Now, I hope you are beginning to see my point with social media, religion, and QAnon. Okay? And where all that came from using Parler, their social media app, and of course, all the tweets from Donald Trump and wherever they find Q. I know a lot of them were, there was a certain place you had to go to find Q and the QAnon posting board and all that. I didn't look for any of that because I'm not interested. But I want you to understand that all of this is leading somewhere. All of this is leading somewhere, and our next guest I'm going to bring up is Jason Stanley, And Jason Stanley wrote a book on how fascism works. And he's being interviewed in this particular piece by Amanpour and Company. Michel Martin is doing the interview, and the interview, he said, America is now in fascism's legal phase. Now in fascism's legal phase. Okay, that means they're putting things in place legally to bring in their fascist regime and government. Guys, this thing that I'm going to show you another piece. These last two pieces should tie this whole thing together for you. Okay. Let it rip.
2021 is part of a history of fascist impulses in American politics. That's the focus of his book, How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us and Them. And in his latest article in The Guardian, he called America is now in fascism's legal phase. He spoke with Michel Martin about what he calls an extremely critical moment for democracy across the world.
Thanks, Bianna. Professor Jason Stanley, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, one of the reasons we called you is that you have issued in recent weeks a rather dire warning. You are saying that this is a pivotal moment in the life of this country. Why do you say that?
It's a pivotal moment because right now we're seeing the legal mechanisms to steal an election being formalized. We're seeing a system put in place that will enable permanent minority rule.
You said that we are now in the legal phase, and you see historical precedents for this, and you say it's almost like a conversation that has gone on for a century between the Americans who have fascist solutions to national problems and kind of the European experience. And you're saying now this sort of two-way conversation is resurgent in the United States through legal means. Many conservatives, many of the most prominent conservatives, sort of scoff at the criticism of these what they call voter integrity measures. They say that some of these measures that are being enacted in the southern states and also really in states around the country, that they're just trying to implement voter integrity. They're just trying to give people confidence in our election systems. How do you respond to that?
Always say about your opponent what you are yourself doing. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing massive projection. We're even seeing the fascist label being thrown at Democrats, right? So projection is a standard propaganda tool. It was one that Goebbels and Hitler both explicitly recommend, but it's not just fascists who engage in it. But we're seeing this massive projection. It's almost like you can tell what the Republicans are doing by what they say the Democrats are doing. Well, we have to interrogate this. Electoral integrity. What does that mean here? Well, you have to filter it through a kind of fascist loyalist lens, which means only the real people of the country should get to determine who the leaders are. And so it's not a really fair election if everyone gets to vote. And we're seeing this again and again. We're seeing Republicans, including former President Trump, say this. If we don't pass these laws, everyone will vote. We're seeing them being very explicit. So the idea is that a real election is one where only the real Americans vote. And this goes back to this idea, which is unfortunately, unless things radically change, going to be a reality of a permanent minority running this country who, in the eyes of that minority, are the real Americans.
We already see this with the Supreme Court. I mean, the reality of it is the United States Supreme Court is dominated by people whose political ideologies do not match those of the majority of the country in any way. The question I have for you, though, is what's appealing about this to so many Americans? I mean, you've made the point, like other scholars have made the point, that the former president and the people who have embraced him, even though he's no longer in office, are sort of beset with this kind of racial anxiety. But what about these other people? What about these extremely wealthy business people who presumably have everything they could ever want, have massive influence in our society, whose companies are fueled in large part by the labor and creativity of many diverse people? So what's the appeal to some of these folks?
Power, simply put. We can't forget that, people aren't racist by their nature. Racism is something that the powerful use to split the powerless. This is something, an analysis that dates back to W.E.B. Du Bois's masterwork, Black Reconstruction, which is still the best work about the American ideology. The wealthy elite faced a labor movement, poor whites, poor blacks joining together in a labor movement. So racism was used to split them apart. Racism is a mechanism of power, which is why you see many people who aren't personally racist at all, who are simply want their taxes cut, don't want government regulation, exploiting any means they can, supporting any kind of mass panic, be it a racial panic, be it a panic about COVID, to push people to vote for an extremist movement that's going to pad their pockets. And this is also consonant with the past. It's consonant with the past and fascist movements across the world right now, like in Hungary. Many business elites, particularly in the hydrocarbon business, they recognize that their work is against the public good. So they need to support a movement that will split apart the public and result in a system that they can control.
One of the points is that you just made is that the contemporary American fascist movement, as you describe it, is led by oligarchical interests for whom the public good is an impediment, such as those in the hydrocarbon business, as well as social, political, and religious movements
with roots in the Confederacy, roots, religious movements with roots in the Confederacy. Remember that.
With roots in the Confederacy. But the other point you made is that, this is something we hear a lot of journalists in Washington, D.C. say all the time, is that, these guys in Congress, these people in Congress, they know that this is all, made up. So what's in it for them? Like, why continue to maintain this mythology, especially when the person who advanced this mythology, the former president, is no longer in office?
Again, power. So let's look at the people who are sort of leading this charge against democracy. Ted Cruz went to Princeton and Harvard Law. Josh Hawley went to Yale Law. J.D. Vance, Yale Law. These are the elites of the elites. These are not just the elites, they're the elites of the elites. And they know exactly what they're doing. When they foment conspiracy theory.
Look at that photo of Josh Hawley. That photo was taken on January 6th as Josh Hawley was walking to the Capitol building and walking past the protesters at the Save America rally. Notice he is given the white power sign, because that's where that's being directed. So damn well he's not saying power to the people. Or he's just saying power to the people that he wants in power. Now, the other thing about Josh Hawley is that you heard him and the other senator that he brought up were both Yale graduates. And if they're Yale graduates, I'm willing to bet that they were tapped for Skull and Bones. Now, a lot of y'all will look at me and say, Carlos, I know you don't believe in Skull and Bones. Man. Stay with me. I'm telling you how society has been brainwashed and the propaganda that they have used in order to do this. So if you're following me, you could clearly see how it's possible for them to brainwash you into believing
theories about the election, when they talk about a totalitarian government restricting our freedoms with COVID policy, they know exactly what they're doing. What are they doing? They're trying to create the idea that the government, the current government, is authoritarian, that it's corrupt, that it's destroying our children, it's a threat to our children. This is what the critical race theory stuff, panic, is about. And that you need a strong man to protect the nation and your children from this terrible threat.
Now, you heard what he just said with the critical race theory being a threat to their children, the demonization of the Democratic Party, and keep in mind, all this is coming after the election of Barack Obama. They feel that the 2012 election was stolen. Keep that in the back of your mind. The other thing he's talking about here is all the fear that they are using to raise these issues. They are saying that the Democrats are the fascists, okay? Where in reality, they all probably are fascists, but reality, we all beginning to see that the Christian right is very much fascist in its thinking and what they believe. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. We just got a little bit more. I just wanted to point that out, and that Josh Hawley could be Skull and Bones, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's not. And if you don't believe Skull and Bones actually exists, you need to follow my program, because I'm going to get you someone, an insider, who's come out and talked about Skull and Bones.
Look, as long as COVID keeps raging, you can keep the politics of fear and panic alive. And when you keep the politics of fear and panic alive, people will set aside democracy. People will say, I just want to be protected from this. They're not.
Two things this. The reason why I know this is Skull and Bones, or a tactic they would use, because this is the dialectic that they're showing you. They are telling you that you have a problem, that you have a society that is out of control, and the people that has it out of control are the fascist Democrats, right? And look, we have the answer over here. But we first have to expose all these fascist pedophile Democrats, these evil people, these Satanists. We have to first expose them. And now we got the solution for you. The solution is Trump. Beginning to get the picture, y'all? Are you beginning to get the picture? Listen to what he is saying. This man wrote a book on how fascism works.
Going to be able to think reasonably and rationally. You need to present your enemy, your internal enemy. So fascist politics works by saying there's a nefarious internal enemy who's working in tandem with the minorities to overthrow the government and control your children. And so what you do is you make society complete. You put people in an incredibly anxious and fearful state where they're looking for some kind of simple explanation. And a conspiracy theory is a kind of very simple explanation.
Now, are you beginning to see this whole thing that I'm doing starting to come together? They're using fear. They're using trauma. They're doing everything they can to control your emotions. Okay, because when you're in an emotional think, the last thing you're doing is thinking. Trust me on that. When you're in an emotional state, the last thing you're doing is thinking. Did you hear what he said? We are pushing the fear to the point, especially on the right, the Trumpers, the Christian right, the evangelical right, these people actually believe two things. This country is their country, and no matter how big our numbers get, we will not take over as the majority in the decision making of this country. Okay? So that's the first thing they believe. The second thing they believe is, y'all ain't gonna change our mind about this. This is what we believe. Okay, just a little bit more and we'll wrap this up.
People can grab onto. They're controlling the schools. We're hearing a lot about the schools. And there are very real worries here. I mean, we all want our children back in school, and we want that dealt with. But, you know, the way to do with that, to deal with that, is to address the COVID crisis. But no, instead, many Republicans are leaning into the COVID crisis because they want to make it worse. They want to say, you know, just like QAnon, it's an extension of QAnon. You want to say the vaccines are out to poison you, you know, all of these things by hypocrites who themselves are getting vaccinated and boosted. So this kind of constant conspiracy thinking, the internal enemy, wink, wink, is there. They're trying to manipulate you deviously. This enables people to say you need a non-democratic solution.
So you've talked about
a non-democratic solution. That's where we are with the Trumpers. Let's be clear where we are with them, okay?
You've talked about sort of how restricting voter access plays into these kind of fascist techniques that you have described. But one of the things that we're also seeing is this kind of hyper-masculine rhetoric, and what seems to kind of go along with that is as a call toward female submissiveness, even though, you know, some of the prime figures are women in this movement. It's just sort of a kind of a call to kind of a 1950s family style. Do you see what I'm saying, and how do you understand that?
Let's begin with the attack on abortion right now. Which is the majority of Americans do reject the repeal of Roe versus Wade. They want to keep Roe versus Wade, but we are facing a future in which abortion rights are going to be severely curtailed. And let's be clear: there are plenty of social conservatives who are not fascists at all, or not authoritarians or autocrats, who want to participate in the democratic process, who are against abortion. But what we find here is a kind of classic macho strutting autocrat in the figure of Trump, who obviously has no social conservative history or morals, but he's appealing to social conservatives. He's saying, I'm going to be your man. Now, that's going to draw social conservatives to him, but it also feeds into a general macho masculinist ideology where the men control the women. So it both appeals to social conservatives because of overlap of interests, even though many social conservatives would vastly prefer this to be a democratic process. And it also feeds into the idea that men are around to protect women and women need to rely on men.
Oh boy, that's enough of that. Okay, but I think you guys are beginning to get the idea where this whole thing is going to. And as you are beginning to see, this all is being done purposely to control our society and to keep the white supremacists in power. By now, just by the sheer numbers, they now understand they have to use different tactics to suppress our vote. And after they start that, and once we become aware of what's happening, then the next thing they're going to do is bring the hammer down, I assure you. That will be the next phase. Now, why am I so confident in that will be the next phase? Well, remember when I told you guys to pay attention to what he was saying about the Christian right being in the tradition of the Confederacy? Oh, man. Wait until y'all see this. The Knights of the Golden Circle, Codes and Conspiracies. I found this on YouTube. It just popped up on my screen one day when I was just scrolling through some things. And I am here to tell you, I don't make this stuff up, guys. See for yourself.
War starts with the founding of a secret society, even before Abraham Lincoln becomes president. A conspiratorial organization that hides its secrets so well that it has almost disappeared from history.
The largest secretive conspiratorial group during the Civil War was the Knights of the Golden Circle.
The Knights of the Golden Circle had a large, broad-based membership from both the North and the South, and they had sympathies that sought to expand slavery.
The same month, the Republican Convention nominates Abraham Lincoln as their presidential candidate. The Knights of the Golden Circle hold their own convention in Raleigh, North Carolina, with a dark and treasonous agenda.
The South, feeling besieged, now thought, we're going to die. If we just maintain the states we have, we will die. We're outvoted by the North. North's expanding, growing rapidly. We are not. So what do? We expand into the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, Central America, and we make one new great slave empire, the Golden Circle.
Their initial goal was to establish an empire that they were hoping it would equal the grandeur of ancient Rome.
Founded in 1854 by a physician named George Bickley, the Knights of the Golden Circle is similar to another society steeped in mystery, the Masons.
Many of the organizing figures of the Knights of the Golden Circle were also Masons. And of course, Masons were the greatest secret society of America up until that time. There was all sorts of religious symbolism and secret passwords and codes and handshakes, and this was all incorporated into the Knights of the Golden Circle as well.
The Knights had specific signs. For example, some people believe the governor of Kentucky was a Knight because the way he touched his collar in his photographs. They had secret passwords for their meetings. They had guards at the meetings and had to give a password to get through.
However, the Knights are not a harmless club. Supporters include future Confederate President Jefferson Davis, high-ranking Southern politicians, many Union officers, and a famous actor named John Wilkes Booth. President Lincoln learns of their devious plans just after he becomes president.
This is a document dated April 18th of 1861, just as Lincoln has taken office and just as the Civil War has broken out with the firing on Fort Sumter, notifying Lincoln that the Knights of the Golden Circle were forming in Philadelphia. So this document makes clear that Lincoln was aware of the involvement of the Knights at the beginning of the Civil War.
The Knights focused their recruiting efforts not in the South, but in the North, where they meet in secret locations in the middle of the night to plot the overthrow of the federal government. One stronghold is rural Pennsylvania.
We're at a barn in Heidelberg Township near Wilmersdorf, Pennsylvania, and this is one of the barns where, according to local residents, the Knights of the Golden Circle met.
A few residents still remember stories of the Knights and their surreptitious meetings here.
When I was a small lad, about 10 years old, my great aunt Hattie taught me about.
Guys, I'm gonna end it right there. I think you got a general gist of the ideal of what that is about. You can find that video again on YouTube, Knights of the Golden Circle, Codes and Conspiracies. It was posted on August 30th, 2017. Looks like it's Discover UK is the creator that posted the video, Discovery UK. So it's actually about a 7.5 minute video if you want to go ahead and watch the entire video. But I think you saw enough just from well, let's see. Yeah, you saw enough just from that, the Golden Circle. If you look at the Golden Circle there, you'll see it's all the states below the Mason-Dixon line. And then we're going to go from the tip of Florida, that's all the Bahama Islands, Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, and Dominican, all the islands along the way, including Aruba, that would be in there. That would also include Trinidad, Tobago, the very top of South America, including Guyana, coming back into Central America with El Salvador, Honduras, and all the countries of the Central America, Belize included, Mexico. All that was going to be the Golden Circle, 24,000 mile radius Golden Circle for slavery. These are the people of the Confederacy that we were never told about. And you saw in the video that they confirmed that the Knights of the Golden Circle were real because Lincoln was notified via letter about their deeds. We have to put this history together. They also connected the Knights of the Golden Circles to the Masons. And even if the Knights of the Golden Circle organization is not relevant or active anymore, you better believe the Masons are. And if you y'all just see it. It's really hard to go any farther on that with the. Why isn't that in the history books? Why isn't that being shown to us? Why aren't they showing us this real history? And again, this just happened to pop up on my YouTube feed one day, or else I would have never come across that particular video. And you can Google Knights of the Golden Circle, and it will bring up the identical history via wiki links that you saw in the video. So you can Google that as well. Now, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Now, we are at the end of this video. You get an idea of the type of content that I am providing and the kind of information that I am distributing to people that follow me. Now, again, I don't consider myself anything other than a distributor of information, okay? If you got any issue with the information, bring your facts, challenge the information I am showing you, and I will reconsider. With that said, don't forget to go to my website, therightauthority.com to hear my podcast. If you want to see my videos, that is patreon.com/therightauthority with the T, the R, and the A all uppercase. And with that, I'm about ready to land this thing and get the hell on out of here. I hope everybody enjoyed the presentation that I set up for you this evening. Peace and blessings. All power to the people. I'm out of here. Have a good night, y'all.